Hi, I'm Marlena and welcome to the Care Truth. I am here with Susan Parriott and we are so excited to debunk the myth that dementia and Alzheimer's are the same thing. Susan, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really
Yeah.
honored. I am the CEO of the Alzheimer's Association, the Minnesota North Dakota chapter, but then I'm a regional vice president, so I oversee Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota as well.
Well, you don't have anything on your
Oh,
plate.
no, nothing at all.
You have nothing going on.
And I've been with the association 13 years. I just started my 14th year, August 1st.
Well,
So
congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. So on the Care Truth, we like to keep it real. For us, a real conversation means we're respecting everybody's journey. We're empowering people with knowledge. We are having authentic conversations and trying to keep it lighthearted when we can, because we all know getting old is not easy. It's not for the
easy.
faint of heart.
No.
So tell me a little bit about some of the focuses of the Alzheimer's Association.
I look at the association as kind of a three-legged stool. We have the care and support to help people on their journey, whether that starts at the health systems, with the families themselves, and trying to make that the best possible experience there is. We do advocacy work, so our second leg, to support people, again, with laws and that will help them live better with this disease, and of course, trying to fund more research. And so we do advocacy at the state and the federal level. And then, of course, we fund research, and we even do research. So we're trying to cover it all.
You do cover it all. So how would you say we can debunk that myth of dementia and Alzheimer's? Are they the same thing?
They are not. That is the greatest question. I always say that's the first question to start with. Dementia is the overarching term for cognitive decline, and Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. So I think of it, if you equate it to cancer, if I said, Marlena, I have cancer, you'd say, oh, Susan, I'm sorry, what kind of cancer do you have?
Right.
So if I say I have dementia, you would say, I'm sorry, what form of dementia do you have? And there's
Right.
probably 50 different forms of dementia, Alzheimer's being the largest one. 60% of people with dementia have Alzheimer's disease.
And I think the other big myth is that everyone who's a senior has some form of dementia.
No, there are, your brain ages.
Right.
It doesn't work like it used to when you're in your 20s and 30s. I always think about, do I run? Well, I never ran when I was 20. But,
Me either.
Can you do all the things you did when you're 20? No, and your brain's the same way. So it ages, but Alzheimer's disease is not normal aging.
Got it. When I describe dementia to someone, I say dementia is kind of like an umbrella.
Yes.
And Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Lewy body, frontal lobe, all of those things are under that umbrella.
You got it. Exactly.
Perfect. So what else should people know about like early signs of if it's dementia or if it's just a senior moment?
Sure. We have on our website, and we have materials we can send you to, but a list of what are the 10 signs of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. And just because you have one doesn't mean you have Alzheimer's disease. And you don't have to have all 10 of them to say, yes, I have Alzheimer's disease. So it's important to read through those and say, hey, I'm having trouble with these 3 or these 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about those in a second. But what I would also say is it's also really important that if you think you're showing signs, to go in and have that conversation with your doctor and get diagnosed, because it could be something else. And
Right.
I'll think about sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
If people aren't getting enough oxygen and enough good sleep, your brain's foggy.
Yep.
Back to when you have kids, you
Yeah.
had kids and they were little. You didn't sleep many hours.
Right.
You wake up some mornings and your brain's in a fog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that happens when you have sleep apnea as well. And if you get that corrected, that can change everything.
Yeah, and it's also, right, if these signs come on really fast, that's typically something else is going on. Like it could be a
Right.
really bad UTI that you're not showing other symptoms for.
Absolutely.
And people will miss that. And some medications can cause issues,
Yeah.
right? So there's lots of different things that could cause it that's not dementia.
Correct. Yeah, I was at a dinner last night and a woman talked about being on all these different medications, and she was all of a sudden having all kinds of neurological disorders, and they started taking the medications away, and she was completely healed after
Isn't
being
that
almost
just
completely
crazy?
debilitated. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Absolutely.
that's a big one. And I think, another area that people don't think about is how someone's sight or hearing can
Oh,
cause things that look like dementia, and it's
yes,
really that they can't see or hear, and that's a big
exactly.
problem too.
Those are things, if you get those corrected, your cognition actually can improve. And so it's, again, really important to look for those things and have them diagnosed. But that's why you have to go in, because you never
Right.
know.
So who do you go to first? Do you go to your primary, or where do you start that process?
I would start with your primary care physician. Many of them are trained and can make the diagnosis unless it's really complicated or hard. If you have multiple forms of dementia, that might be harder to diagnose.
Okay.
One of the really exciting things is there is a blood test now out on the market, approved by the
No
FDA
way.
within the last couple months, that can help diagnose. I'm not going to say if you take the blood test it's positive, you 100% have it. Most physicians would send you on for some additional testing. But if you take that blood test and it's not positive, then they're going to start eliminating Alzheimer's disease and look to see what else it might be. But then you might go to your neurologist, a geriatrician, a neuropsychologist. There's lots of different people that you could go to see.
Nice. So does food impact?
Absolutely.
Really?
You could be foods that are toxic to your body.
Mm-hmm.
But if eating the right foods can help you reduce your risk for Alzheimer's disease as well. The Alzheimer's Association just had our big research conference a couple weeks ago in Toronto,
Okay.
and the results of our pointer study, and this is a study that we funded
Mm-hmm.
across the United States, looked at lifestyle changes and how that could impact your risk for Alzheimer's disease. And one of them is diet. Absolutely.
So tell me some of those things that we should all be doing so that we don't end up with Alzheimer's.
Well, it's a lot of the things that are good for your heart are also really good for your brain.
Okay.
So it is diet, no smoking, getting your hearing checked, exercise, and consistent exercise and pretty rigorous. Brain training,
Mm-hmm.
socialization, so having good conversations with people and being active, learning new things all the time. All of those things are really good and keep you healthier, younger, and can help slow down the aging process of your brain, which is really exciting.
Yeah, because it's building those new pathways, right? It's
Yes,
getting your brain to think of things in a different way. So
absolutely.
cool. What else from the conference should we make sure we touch on?
Well, that was the really big news. They also had some big news that came out around the drugs right now that are available in the early stages. It was a couple years ago that those were first introduced and approved by the FDA to help slow down the progression of the disease. There was some controversy around them, like how long is that really effective? How much life extension is that going to give you? And of course, in the initial studies, they were only about 18 months long, so they could only say, it may continue your life for 2 months, 3 months. Well, now people have been on these drugs 3-4 years, and they're showing, oh yes, the longer you're on this drug, it will extend your life and your quality of life for months to years even. So
That is really exciting. So if you get that Alzheimer's diagnosis, it doesn't mean that there's no hope.
Correct. It is not the end. 10 years ago, we've always had hope, but I would say their hope was not as strong as it is now. But yes, there are things that you can do about it to slow down the progression of the disease, live better quality in those years where you can still drive, still be an active partner in the community, maybe still work. Have a good life.
That is just amazing. And how cool to see all of the hard work that your association and everyone to see like really tangible change.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's been super exciting. And we couldn't do it without all of our donors, our volunteers, the people that participate in our walks and our galas. It's because of that they're fueling our mission and helping us find all of these potential treatments.
So inspiring. So inspiring. So tell me, what are some of those real warning signs that people
Yes.
should be watching for?
I have to get my list out.
Okay.
Memory loss that disrupts daily life.
Okay.
Yes, we all forget something now and then. But think about the person that gets in the shower, and I've worked with this woman that she's probably was in her 40s when she was diagnosed, really young, but got in the shower one day and knew she had to, wash her hair, couldn't remember what she was supposed to do. What were the steps to wash her hair? That's memory loss that's disrupting your daily life. Challenges in planning or solving problems. Sometimes we think about that as you're cooking. How many recipes do you have that you don't even have to look at the recipe anymore? You've done it so many times.
Yes.
Well, if all of a sudden you can't do that anymore without looking at the recipe, or you're having a hard time following along with that, that's a real sign of Alzheimer's disease. Difficulty completing familiar tasks, similar to the shampooing your hair. What about the gentleman that sat down at his desk every day and turned on his computer and he could no longer remember how to do that? So yeah, one day he could turn it on and the next day he couldn't. So it can happen.
And that gets really scary, right?
It does.
I can't imagine, I walk into a room and I say, oh shoot, what did I come in here for, right? And that's like what they used to call a senior moment, right? Where you just have so many things going on in your brain and now you've forgotten what you came in there for. But to go and sit in your car and then not remember how to turn it on, that's something completely different.
That is completely different, absolutely. Spatial relationships. Think about the person that's driving that all of a sudden starts having lots of little fender benders because they really can't judge distance and things like that.
Okay.
That can be an issue. New problems with speaking or writing. We all have kind of that speech pattern. If your loved one is used to using really big words and things like that, and all of a sudden they're finding really small words to use and changing their sentences, or they have a hard time completing sentences, that's a definite sign. Misplacing things, but not being able to retrace your steps. So you said you walk into a room, but often if you walk back out of the room and come back in, you're like, oh yeah, this is what I was looking for.
Right.
But not being able to retrace those steps and misplacing things.
Yeah, and I've also heard if you're starting to put things in odd places.
Yes, absolutely.
So like if your keys are in the freezer, or we had a little gal who used to put her shoe in the microwave and think that's lunch. That's a problem.
That's a problem, absolutely. Withdrawal, these two are the big ones I think that most people don't realize or understand. But when people start withdrawing from social activities, say you're a really social person, you like to go out a lot, all of a sudden you don't want to do that anymore.
Okay.
Often it's because a person's afraid to make a mistake. There's too much noise and commotion. They can't follow along in conversations. It can be really challenging. Or changes in mood and personality. So I had a board member whose mom was diagnosed in her early 50s, and her personality completely changed. And they took her into the doctor, and because she was so young, it was hard to diagnose. Most of the doctors thought, oh, she's having a midlife crisis, she's just depressed, whatever. Turns out it was FTD is what she had.
Frontal lobe.
Yeah, and it was hard to diagnose that.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
It was really hard. So if you're seeing those signs, going to your primary doctor is the right first step. And if families want support, how can the Alzheimer's Association provide some of that support?
We have an amazing website, I would say. There's so much information on there where you can take our education classes right there online if you don't want to go in person to one. Our 24/7 helpline is extremely valuable, and it's answered in 200 languages.
How fantastic is that?
It's really amazing. Support groups, not everybody wants to participate in a support group, but that's really important. And we have a really fabulous new tool that's come out called My ALZ Journey, and it's an app for your phone. So you can use it as a person with the disease, and I, as your caregiver, can also participate, and it will provide lots of resources and support as well.
That's fantastic. And I believe there's like a crisis line that people can call too, right?
Yes, that's the helpline.
And what is that number?
800-272-3900.
You only say that how many times a day, right?
Yes.
Well, I will make sure that that's down in the comments below so anyone is able to use that. And people who are caregivers as well as families or the person with Alzheimer's, anyone can call that number and get support, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Even people that work in long-term care facilities can call it because sometimes they're struggling with maybe someone at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're not quite sure what to do. Call the helpline. We can help offer tips. But yeah, it's for anybody, people with the disease, the next door neighbor, the friend, whoever is really having questions.
And people can call more than once. It's not a one and done, right?
No, you can call 50 times a day if you want. You can call every day of the week if you want, whatever you need.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's so cool. And I know we are going to get to do another session of the Care Truth. But before we get to that, tell me a little bit about the Alzheimer's Walk.
Oh, the Alzheimer's Twin Cities Walk is one of the most incredible events that there is. We are one of the top 10 largest walks, meaning amount of money raised and the number of people across the country. So there's 600 walks across the country, and it's a way to bring families, friends, companies, people together that really want to change the course of this disease, not only for their loved ones that are living with it, but for the future as well.
That's so wonderful.
It is.
So when is the walk this year?
September 27th at Target Field. It's an amazing venue, so it's easy to get to, lots of parking. You can ride the light rail or the bus. Gates open at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we ask people to form teams, raise money. And last year we raised $1.3 million.
Wow, for one walk? That gives me
Yes,
chills.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
And we're hoping to raise 1.5 this year. So we definitely need your help.
Yes, and if you don't live in Minnesota, there's an Alzheimer's
Oh
Walk
gosh.
in every state.
Yes.
I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
We have 17 walks across our 2 states. And across my entire territory, we have 75 walks.
Oh my gosh,
It's a lot.
that's a lot. And are they all on the same day?
No, they start in the middle of September and through our territory through the middle of October, but some of the walks are even into November.
Wow, well, not Minnesota.
No.
It gets a little too cold here. What else should people know about thinking about if they have a diagnosis? What's some advice you would give those families or people who are seeing a couple of those signs?
Sure. First thing I would say, one of those debunking the myths, as you talked about, is people often know themselves really well, and they know something's not right. So often people make a joke and say, "Oh, I won't care if I get this disease because I won't know it." But when it's first starting out, you know it.
It's scary.
You know something's wrong, and
Right.
it's scary. But don't be afraid to have that conversation, because now there's something you can do about it, which is really important.
What a gift.
Yes. And then if you're a family member, a loved one, a coworker, and you're seeing signs and that hasn't been acknowledged yet, you need to have that conversation. And you could call the association and say, what are some things I could say? How should I bring this up? I don't want to make this person mad, but we have scripts and good questions to help them walk through that process.
Yeah, I like to call those courage conversations.
Yes.
It takes courage to have them, but once you've had it, you do feel better because now you're not, avoiding a topic. You're addressing it, and then change can happen because you're
Absolutely.
acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
thank
Susan,
you.
for coming. I really appreciate it. And to all my viewers, thank you so much for listening today. Hopefully you see that we debunked the myth that Alzheimer's and dementia are not the same. And it isn't that you don't have hope if you get diagnosed with any or more than one of those dementias. So don't be afraid. Contact your doctor. Get some support. Contact the Alzheimer's Association. Remind me the website one more time.
www.alz.org.
And that phone number for the hotline one more time.
800-272-3900.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to share with your friends. Thanks so much.